So I think for most of us, the driver, we have a love-hate relationship that when we hit it great, we love it. It's the best club in the bag. I've got the new TaylorMade Stealth here. Everyone's raving about it. But when we hit it bad, it's just chuck it in the bin. I never want to use that again. So what I see with most golfers is that they'll set up with driver, put lots and lots of effort in it, generate some decent speed in their golf swing. And we can see low, shape into the left, a solid enough strike, 104 mile an hour club head speed, 148 ball speed, only carrying 150 yards and total 210. And I think a lot of golfers feel that when they're kind of putting all that effort in and all that speed, there's no real control, they can't strike the ball, don't really know where the ball's going. So what if you could actually learn the little tips like the best players in the world where you can set up well, actually swing a little bit slower, so we can see 101 mile an hour club speed, 143 ball speed, carry the ball 230 and total 247. So how nice would that be that if you could make those little changes, use the same driver and potentially pick up 80 extra yards carry with driver. Now I know a lot of golfers say, why is carry important? I think carry is important because if you hit that really low one that runs a lot, even if it gets on the fairway, it's got to run past a lot of trouble. So I think that one that's up in the air, launches high, spins a bit lower, and really gets out there. So comment below, let me know if you're more the first shot, but you'd like to be more of the second. And if you are, keep watching because we're going to show you what you probably do wrong, and most importantly, how are you going to do it better. So the first one, I think most golfers nowadays are very, very aware because there's a lot of information out there that if we're going to hit our best drives, we would like to see the club moving up through impact. That creates a high launch, low spin, and as long as you can match strike, you get some really good distance on your shots. But I tend to see a lot of golfers really struggle with that with driver. So what they tend to do is when they tee the ball up high, they tend to get it off the top of the club, even top the ball sometimes, slice it, and just really, really inconsistent. So they feel almost by swinging driver more like they do an iron, they get maybe a more consistent result, even if it's not a great one. So I tend to see the ball teed down quite low, the ball getting quite near the center of the stance, shoulders very, very level, and then as they swing, again, we can see phenomenally low, a good contact, but my low point there, 6.5 inches ahead of the golf ball. Now the problem is if you're somebody who hits driver like that, the first thing your brain's thinking is, I could probably hit my putter that high if I hit it that hard. So what we'll tend to see with golfers is, again, they'll stay on that tee height because they know they can strike it, and they'll try and add loft in one of two ways. They will either fall back and they get the bottom of the arc too high and top it, or they will leave the club face open, which obviously adds loft, but unfortunately produces far too much of that. And if we're at St Andrews, that's possibly in somebody's bar. So even though the carry was good, it's not massively helpful if it's out of bounds. So the little changes we're going to make is we're going to go from a low tee to a nice big tee. So once we tee the ball up, and I've gone from the White Castle tee to the orange tee. So I'd like to see at least half the ball above the club head. We're then going to move that ball from being very central in the stance much further forward, and I would tend to say it depends a little bit on width of stance wearing your feet, but kind of very much opposite your lead kind of armpit or lead shoulder. Now you're going to keep your top hand on the club as you address the ball, then you're going to bring your trail hand in underneath, and that straight away is going to provide a little bit more spine lean away from the target. Now, we're going to make your backswing as normal. As you swing down, I want you to feel like you're going to try and straighten that left leg a little bit. And you can see that's going to add to the tilt, hopefully get that low point behind the golf ball and get the club traveling up. Now, before you get too excited though, and if you're working through the video with me, this might happen. And I want you to understand this to begin with. So we make that change and then we make our swing. And even though that wasn't flushed out the middle of the club, generated some decent speed. The low point was still slightly ahead, but we can see how the club path was minus 9.2 degrees. So that actually shows there that the club was working more out to in. Now, if you do manage to get your low point behind the golf ball, the more up the club moves, also the more left or out to in. So the little adjustment you need to make in your swing is you need to feel with driver, with the ball forward, when you try to get the low point behind to travel up, is you need to try and feel that the club works more to the right and from the inside. And the really easy way of doing that is instead of standing nice and square, pull that back foot back, then you can set up, swing on the line of your feet. So we're going to set up, ball forward, pull that foot back. So definitely my feet now are probably 20 degrees off to the right. Get that trail hand on behind, swing on the line of my feet. Now actually there, even without trying to swing quicker, because I've straightened my leg, I've pushed into the ground, we see 105 mile an hour club speed, ball speed at 150, fantastic strike out the middle, 240 carry and 274 total. Low point 5.5 inches behind and the club path 3.6 degrees from the inside. Now, if you're somebody who usually hits the ball low or gets that slicey one going, you've only got to hit a couple of those. And if you're playing golf with friends, they're going to want to know what you've been up to. You might want to share your secrets, but after you've taken some money over 18 holes. But if you can get into that, all the long drivers in the world, get that low point behind, get that club traveling up. They also realise, though, that they have to get that club working more from the inside to make sure that that path doesn't create too much of a fade. Now, obviously there I actually generated a little bit more speed without trying to from pushing off. But even if I were to swing slower, running through what we've spoke about there, yes, the ball's drifting a little to the left, but that felt like I put nothing into that. Still 102 mile an hour, 144 ball speed, 223 carry, 254 total. But we see that low point now 6.6 inches behind, so the club really starting to travel up. And if you're doing that, you're starting to become more and more efficient. Now, obviously the title of the video was swing slower and hit the ball 80 yards further. We're not necessarily saying it in total, but if you're somebody who that low one that only pitches 130, 140, 150, and you're now getting into 220, 230, 240 carry, that's a huge change. Now, I do appreciate you might not be my speed, you might be slower. So you might not be 80, but you're certainly going to be an easy 40, 50 yards extra through the air. And if you can build some confidence in that and a bit of belief in what you're doing and see where the ball's going, then you could, as the cherry on top, try and generate a little bit more speed. And you'll set up the same, and all you want to feel is as you're swinging down, get that leg, lead leg straightening as fast as you can. And if you can generate some more speed and be super efficient, hopefully you can get one just like this. £110 mph club speed, little bit out the toe, so 153 ball speed, 260 carry, 283 total, 6.6 inches behind, and that's long, that's straight, and that absolutely, if you don't start shooting better scores driving like that, maybe you need to watch some different videos. So guys, hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, like it and share it, comment below and I'll get back to as many people as I can. There's another video just there that YouTube thinks will help your golf. Hopefully catch up with some of you guys down here soon. Stay in contact.